Hi, this is Christian with the SGH Digital Lab. Today I want to quickly show you how you can create a project and export a field report using SGH Asset Management. Asset Management is an application that runs off the SGH servers, stores all of its data in a similar way to our iDrive, and is accessible and entirely built for phone. So you can actually scan that code with your camera and load this application on your phone. Alright, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to want to do is log in using our SGH email and password. Once we're logged in, we can go to projects. Projects, we can say add new, or we can find a project that we either have access to already, or we can request access to a project we haven't been granted access to. For this, I'll add a new one. Let's make the project name Demo Inspection. I'll just put 000 for the project number here. This project's not confidential, so it'll show up in other people's lists and they'll be able to request access to it. And I'll go ahead and say create a default site, and within that site there'll be a default building and a default asset. Alright, it's just that simple. Now we have our project. Within our project we can customize many of the different forms and fields here. We can define an actual customized input form if we need to do an inspection. We can create tags that we can apply to different observations and assets. We can define our priority types, our unit types we want to label things with. We can define site groups if we need that. If we're doing something like a railway inspection where there might be different lines that are different color codes. We can define our asset categories, within that symptom categories, and with that symptom codes or defect codes that we want to apply. None of these are necessary to edit to start using the system, but it adds a lot of flexibility if you need them. Okay, well let's just go ahead and get started by going down the main chain here and taking a look at how we enter observations in the system. We've already seen that it's created a default site as we've asked it to. Within that, a default building or zone. We can rename any of these if we like by just clicking the edit button on them. And we've created a default asset that in this case is just going to hold all of our observations. So if we just want to get started really quickly, we don't need to define any more assets. If we like, we can create as many assets as we want. We could have one asset per item, or we can have one asset per category. We could have it be stair S1, or we could have it be all stairs, for example. Okay, so within our asset, we can create a couple observations. These are observations about this asset, and in our case, generic asset. So I'll go ahead and say add new. Here I can add a title to our asset, or to our observation, sorry. And say crack in concrete. And we'll say the description is crack, crack running north-south, let's say. You'll see that there's also an issue number that's automatically generated here. This is saying building 1, which was the default code for our building. We can edit that in the actual building if we like. And then we have the date code for today's date, which is 2021-09-28. And then this is the first item that's been entered for today. So I'll leave that alone because we'll use that default code and then I won't have to add them every time. We can see that there are a couple of other sections here if we want to add some more information. If we define our priority types and some of the other customized drop-downs from the home page, then we can see those customized drop-down options here. I don't need any of these fields for today, so we won't add those. If we like, if we're on site and we're outside, we can use our GPS coordinates. I'll go ahead and do this now. You can see that it's pulled my GPS coordinates automatically. Just remember, this is about as accurate as your Google Maps is on your phone. So it's not great for locating a spot exactly, but it's good for a general location, especially if you're outside. We can also upload a photo or multiple photos. I'll say browse. I'm on my laptop right now, so this will give me the option to select from a file location. If you're on your phone, it'll actually ask you, would you rather use your gallery or your camera? If you use the gallery, you can upload multiple photos at once. With the camera, it'll only let you take one at a time. This is part of Apple and Android's limitations, not necessarily the website itself. So I'll select a photo for the crack here. We'll say open. Okay, so that's it. So I'll say create. All right, and now we've created our first observation. So this observation will be a line item in our report. So we'll see also that an observation has a status log. If I click on the status log, you can see that this stat has an open status by default, and the note is the same as the description there. We have the status date as today. There's also a photo associated with the status, which is the one that I uploaded. We can edit this here or see more information there. If we need to say, let's say we come back to the site and we want to say this is a resolved or closed item. So the next time I come back to the site, I could come in here and say this is now closed and use today's date and say create. I won't do that now because we want this to be reported as an open item. All right, so I'll go back to our observations. Let's create one more quick observation and then export a report. So this one will say, I'll choose one of the ones that I've already used, edge of platform damaged, and then we'll say delamination at edge. Needs to be fixed. Okay. And you can see that this is now the second item for this building on this date. So we'll leave that alone. I'll upload another photo for this. Choose a quick photo. How about this one? Okay, so now that we've filled that out, that's all we need to do. We'll say create. And now we have two observations that we've made for our report here. I'll go back to the project home to export my report. Here we go. Here's the report section. We'll click reports. There's a couple other useful visualizations you can see there, but let's just go to reports for now. Right now we don't have any reports created yet. So what we want to do is we want to create a new report. We want to give this a report number. I'll just call it report number 1. Report by, I'll put my name here. And you can fill out any of the rest of these header fields you like. You can also go in and say, let's add from unreported status items. So these are any new items since our last report. Since we don't have a report, everything will be in here at this point. We can see that our two observations are listed here. So I'll go ahead and say, I'm just going to add all, or we can say, click this one and we want to add the open status to our report and the open status of this one to our report. You can see that they've been automatically added down here. They're in this report's observation section. These are going to include the photos and the full information. You can also switch them over to the outstanding observations log if they're an older item, and these will not show the photos but will show the rest of the information. This section is meant to be things that have already been included in previous reports and don't need to have their full information here. They're more of a reminder that those items are still outstanding. We can also remove them if we need to. Okay, that's it. Now we'll say save report. Now we have our report preview. You can see this is kind of a preview of the SGH header format. And we have a couple options. We can download this as an Excel file that will have all of our data in Excel if we want to see that. Or we can download a Word file. If we hit the drop down here, we can see that there are a couple of different templates. These two are probably the ones you're familiar with, which is the photo appendix, the table of the data at the top with the photos at the end of the report. And then there's also the inline, which is the photos next to the information. And then there's this hybrid template, which is one we've been working on that we think works really well with the SGH Asset Management system. So I'm going to download the hybrid template to take a look at that. So I click download. It'll take a moment for it to assemble your report. So just be patient and let it download. This can take a little bit longer, especially with many photos. If you have a large report with many items and many photos. Okay, it looks like it's done downloading. I'll open the report now. The report's opened on my other screen here, so I'll move it over. All right, so I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see that now we've created our report. We can adjust the size of some of these images so that things lay out as we like. In fact, I'll move this down so that that's on its own page. And that's it. Now you see we have our report with our 2 items. We have our description, our recommended action, which was in the additional fields. We have the building that this belongs to, the asset it belongs to, which of course you can rename in the system. We haven't assigned a priority to this, and we haven't assigned a code to the issue. So that's it. That's how you go from no project to full ready to be edited and sent to the client field report. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact the SGH Digital Lab.